What we're looking at here is a 1929 Lockwood Racing Chief. What they've done is take and put a smaller diameter flywheel. This is a flywheel from a smaller engine called a Lockwood Ace. What they've done is they've put dual carburetors. And if you go down here, Keith, and you look at the inlets, they're not circular. It's rectangular cross-section. The velocity stacks are pointed downwards, so spray won't enter the engine. There's two float bowls here. They're two independent carburetors, but they have a common linkage. Up here, they have two Lunkenheimer oilers. What these oilers do is provide oil through tubes to the upper main and the lower main bearings of the crankshaft. These are not ball bearings, they're standard bearings, and this provides undiluted oil to those bearings. You still mix the oil and gas together and put in this gas tank. Now what Lockwood wanted to do is, no matter where this outboard motor was out in the race course, they wanted spectators to know that it was a Lockwood Racing Chief. So they made a cylindrical gas tank and they painted it bright red. That's the reason for this. The bottom end is standard Lockwood Chief. And in 1929, they had an underwater exhaust. Now this particular engine does not have a water pump. What it does is has slits on the propeller blades. These slits lead to hollow passages that go to a hollow propeller shaft. And it goes up through the engine, through the cylinders, and then back down. And this is the water inlet here.
I didn't get turned over to mercury until I bought it.
As soon as the propeller starts spinning, it flings water out and creates a suction. The water goes in here, goes through the engine, and out here. So there's no water pump to wear out. And this is called a Lockwood Racing Chief, made in 1929. Unfortunately, the Johnsons were much faster. So this is only a one-year motor. And as such, it's extremely rare.
Keith asked me to talk a little bit about my coil display that I did here. I wanted to try and put something together for the Mystic Meet here that rivaled some of the G's Garage episodes, that explained to people a little bit about how outboards work. And one of the things I chose to focus on was the Evinrude & Johnson universal coil assembly that was used on outboard motors from 1949 up into the 1990s. And so over the years I'd noticed that there were many different coils that were used, and the common problem that a lot of them had with the plastics drying out and the coils then becoming unusable. And this is such a common problem that virtually 100% of the OMCI outboards from the 1950s and 60s suffer from this problem. And I thought doing a display and talking a little bit about the problem and about the parts that are needed to replace it would be helpful to some of the public who come by the Mystic Seaport during the Engine Expo. So I did a little bit of a display here of all the different coils that were used that I've come across over the years, ranging from 1949, early 50s, mid 50s, early 60s, through the 60s into the 70s. This coil is from the 80s into the 90s, all of which suffer the exact same problems with the plastics. And I also did a little parts write-up of the parts that are needed for replacing to make them work. And lastly, I've included some of the spark plugs that OMC outboards were able to use, ranging from the J6J, which was the most common plug, to a colder plug down to the J2J, which is not a very common thing to see, and up to a J8J, which was a hotter spark plug. So it kind of encompasses everything about the OMC Universal Magneto.